Hi guys, and welcome to Small Steps to Freedom. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the money moves you need to make in your 20s to achieve financial independence. But to be honest, you can apply all these money moves even if you're not in your 20s and they'll still make a big difference. So it really doesn't matter how old you are. These are money moves that will set you up to actually achieve financial independence and early retirement if you want. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for watching this video and welcome to Small Steps to Freedom. We talk all things personal finance to help anyone achieve financial independence and early retirement. So this is video number 3 on our FIRE playlist. So be sure to check out all the other videos on this playlist. I will link it down in the description below and on the little I here somewhere. But let's get into the good stuff and talk about those money moves you need to make in order to be financially independent. One of the most important things that impacts your financial independence and your ability to build wealth is your income. So your income is very important, right? Because your income is going to determine how much money you are able to save and invest every single month. And as you guys know from our previous videos, we've talked about the savings rate and how that rate is what determines how quickly you become financially independent. So your income is very, very important. So the money move you need to make here is to aggressively and intentionally increase your income. I say aggressively because you need to build up multiple streams of income. You need to have your 9-to-5 income, your side hustle income, your passive income. You need to have as many sources of income as possible. And I say this so that if something happens to your job or to your business, you'll be able to actually fall back on other sources of income that will carry you through when you don't have that one to count on anymore, right? When you have one source of income and you lose your job, then you are already on panic mode, right? Because you don't have any other source of income to fall back on. So you want to aggressively increase your income streams and make sure that you have multiple sources of income. Then I say intentionally, and the reason I say intentionally is because most people want to make more money, right? If you ask anyone on the street right now, do you want an extra 1,000 rands a month, extra 5,000 rands a month? Everyone will tell you yes, right? But a lot of people don't actually have a plan on how they intend to get to that point where they have that extra 1,000 rands a month, right? And you want to be that person who actually has a plan, because if you're the person that has a plan, that means you know how you're going to actually get to the point where you can see that 1,000 rands a month coming into your account every single month, right? Because things don't just happen out of thin air. You have to actually take action. So have a plan on how you're going to increase your income streams and actually take action. So there are 3 things that I want to focus on when it comes to increasing your income. So there is your 9-to-5 income. This is the income that most people have. Most of us have some sort of job that we wake up to every day and we go and work and we earn a paycheck at the end of the month. And there are things that we can do to actually increase that source of income. So first of all, you need to look at, well, what job do you have? What is the earning potential within your career, within your industry, within whatever profession you're in, right? And when you have that idea, it then gives you a picture of the potential amount of money that you can look forward to making in the future. And when you have that picture, you can then decide, okay, do I need to continue climbing up this corporate ladder, for example? Do I need to continue working in this industry? And will it be able to help me actually achieve the financial goals that I have? And that's going to be a very important question you need to ask yourself, because if the answer is no to that question, then you can look at things like looking for another job or even switching careers altogether. And I've talked a lot about switching careers because that's something that I did, right? So I'll leave a link to that video in the description as well if you want to watch it, because it is an option to explore. If you find that your earning potential in your current 9-to-5 or in your current career is just not what you need to achieve your goals, that is an option to consider, is doing that career switch, right? So there's your 9-to-5 income, and outside of just like, changing your job, changing your career, or climbing the corporate ladder, you can also just look at things like networking in order to build a network within your industry that will connect you to opportunities, right? Because a lot of the really good opportunities are not on LinkedIn. You might find them on LinkedIn, right? But they're already being passed between people in their networks. If someone knows someone, right? They may refer them for a job. So you want to actually build up your network, your professional network, so that you can have those people that are out there looking out for you in case there's a really good opportunity, right? And then you'll be able to actually grab those opportunities. And then another thing I think a lot of us need to get more comfortable with is negotiating things like our salaries and our benefits, right? Because that really does impact our bottom line at the end of the day. If you can negotiate to get medical aid paid by your company, or if you can negotiate for things like paid time off and things like that, it can really help you in your bottom line at the end of the day and increasing your income. So those are some of the things you can do, like when it comes to like 9-to-5 income. I can talk about that like all day, but I should not. But the second thing I want to touch on is your side hustle income. So having a side hustle is definitely not going to be for everyone. Not everyone wants to have a side hustle, because let's say you have a very stressful job and already you're spending like more than 8 hours a day at work, right? You're already exhausted. You just do not have the time, energy, or even the desire at that point, right, to actually build a side hustle. That's fine. Like, side hustles are not for everyone. But if you find that side hustles are for you, if a side hustle is something that you can potentially look into, then you should definitely look into that, right? Because a side hustle is something that you can start building up while you're working at your employer's place, and then maybe in the future even take on full time, right? You can actually build up a whole business from just a side hustle. So you can really start to really consider that as a potential way of actually increasing your income. So with side hustles, a great way to actually decide what side hustle you should do is to look at the things that you're good at. If you're good at photography, start charging people to take their pictures, or videography, video editing, content creation, marketing. You can do so many things. You can even start doing online side hustles like teaching English online part-time and things like that. So just do your research and see what type of side hustles would fit into your life and the type of income that you're looking to make, right? So a side hustle is always a great way to just increase your income streams. This is probably the best type of income to have, but that is passive income, right? So this is money that you're not necessarily having to be physically present for, or you have to do anything in order for you to earn, but it does take work upfront. So for example, if you want some sort of passive income, you can think about doing things like investing into property and getting rental income, or even investing in the stock market and getting dividend payouts, right? Both options require capital, so you won't necessarily reap the rewards that day you invest, the day you buy the property. No, it will take time for you to actually build up to that point where you have that regular income coming in from those assets. But passive income is definitely something to really consider building up over time. Invest for dividends, invest for rental income if property is something that you are interested in. So that is the first money move, guys, is to aggressively and intentionally increase your income. So I went into a little bit more depth than I planned on income, but let's just move on to money move number 2. So money move number 2 is building good financial habits that will actually help you to achieve financial independence. So this touches on a variety of things, from budgeting, saving, investing, to living below your means and all of that, right? So I'm going to just discuss a few of those. So there's living below your means. Living below your means is very, very important, right? Even though income, as I said, is very important when it comes to your financial independence journey, it won't make a difference if you keep spending all the money that you earn. So learning to live below your means is a great habit to build, especially when you're not earning as much money yet, because if you build up that habit when you're earning 20,000 rands, you'll be able to live below your means even when you're earning 100,000 rands, because it becomes a lifestyle and a habit for you. You can earn all the money in the world, but if you don't keep any of it, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. So that is the first habit you need to build, and that one I think is going to take a lot of self-reflection and work continuously as you grow, as you like adult, right? Because there's a lot of pressures that are going to come on you in terms of societal expectations. People might expect you to drive a certain car because they think you make a certain amount of money, right? But you're going to have to actually set your own standards in terms of what success looks to you, right? In order for you to be able to control your lifestyle and live below your means. And that gap that you're creating when you live below your means is really where the gold is, right? Because that's the money you're going to be able to use to actually work for you in the long term. So always try to really increase the amount of money that you're earning, and also making sure that the gap between that amount and the amount that you spend every single month is as big as possible, because that is the allowance that you'll have to actually build your wealth. Another very good financial habit that will help you achieve financial independence is a very simple one, and I think it's often overlooked, but it is crucial if you intend on building any sort of wealth, right? And that is budgeting. And I know there's some people who don't like budgeting. Some people call budgets with a different name, for example, a spending plan. But essentially what we need is you to have a plan for what you intend to do with your money. So you need to plan what you're going to do with your money and not necessarily just wing it all the time, right? So before you get paid, you need to decide, this is how much I'm going to spend on rent, on food, on electricity, on entertainment, and all of those things, right? It sounds like such a simple thing to do, but you'd be surprised at just how many people don't necessarily do it. And I want to even highlight here as well is the budget that lives in your head is basically not a budget, because you do not remember every single thing you spend money on. You don't remember what you committed to at the beginning of the month by the time, the end of the month rolls around. So you want to have it written down somewhere where you can actually track it, and you can actually have that point of reference, so that you're not necessarily doing like guessing games. Like, did you say you're going to spend 2,000 rands on entertainment, or did you say you're going to spend 3,000 rands? It makes things so much simpler when you have it written down, because there's no way of just like questioning and making mistakes, right? So budgeting is a very crucial one. And with budgeting as well, even though it's simple, there is the tricky part of actually sticking to your budget, because that's the most important part, is actually sticking to your budget and doing the things that you intended to do on your budget, right? So here you can lean on like an accountability partner that supports you and helps you to actually stick to your budget. You can even set up things like notifications on your budgeting apps that notify you when you're overspending on certain categories. There's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of help yourself budget better, right? But budgeting is going to be a habit that you want to really build up over time, especially if this is like your first job, your first few jobs. You want to make sure that you actually start getting that skill and making it a habit. And then the third thing, which is also very important here when it comes to building good financial habits, is actually saving and investing your money on a regular basis. So depending on how often you get an income, if you get paid every single month, then you want to be saving and investing every single month. If you get paid every quarter, then you want to be saving and investing every quarter based on how much money you're making, right? But at the end of the day, you want to make saving and investing a regular thing that you do, right? And an easy way to do this is by just automating it, right? Set up a debit order that invest in your tax-free savings account automatically, into your retirement annuity, into your discretionary investments, and then puts money into your savings and all of that. Just automate it so that you don't necessarily have to be involved for it to happen. This will make it easier for you to actually stick to those savings and investment goals, right? And an important thing here is to also make sure that you're understanding what you want to achieve with those goals. You need to know what you're saving for, how much money you need for it. You need to know what you're investing in, meaning you need to really understand your investments as well as like how they're going to be making you money. And then you can be able to actually invest based on your goals. So here you're going to be doing a lot of learning about saving and investing. And then you're going to be doing and taking that learning and actually practicing, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, guys, if we talk about tax-free savings account from morning to night. It doesn't matter, right? If none of us actually open a tax-free savings account. So it's important for you to actually learn about these things and actually take action and start opening those investment accounts, start opening those savings accounts, and actually attaching goals to each of those to make it easier for you to actually build your wealth. Remember, another really important thing that will help you build wealth and become financially independent is time. So the earlier you actually start investing, the better, because what? Compound interest works even more because you're giving it what? Time. Your investments need time, right? So you want to be getting as much exposure as possible as soon as possible. The third money move that you need to make to be financially independent is to be smart about debt. So you could be in like two different situations. You could have debt right now, or you could be debt free, right? Regardless though, you still need to understand how debt and credit works, right? Because it does impact our lives so much. For most of us, when we want to buy a house, we won't be able to afford to buy the house cash. We will have to get like a home loan and things like that. So you want to make sure that you understand how all of those lines of credit work before you actually sign up for them, even credit cards. But for a lot of us, we kind of have to learn about debt when we already have it, right? But at the end of the day, you do want to make sure that you understand how that whole ecosystem works, because you will probably need to tap into it in the future or at some point in your life, right? And when it comes to debt, you need to understand two things. There's what people always debate about, and they say, well, there's good debt and there's bad debt. I personally feel like debt is debt, but just for this video, just to give you guys a clear idea of what type of debt you need to really try to avoid, we are talking about consumer debt, right? So when you're talking about bad debt, that's consumer debt. Those are things like your clothing account, your credit cards. Those are things that are not necessarily assets that are going to put money into your pocket, right? Those are consumer debts. That's bad debts. That also includes like your car loan, especially because, you know, when you buy your car and you drive it off the lot, it's already losing value, right? So you need to think about your debt in that way. Is it debt that's going to be taking money out of your pocket, or is it debt that's going to be putting money into your pocket? And then you can actually weigh up those pros and cons with more information available to you, right? So you need to really be smart about debt, the reasons you get into debt, and the type of debt that you get into. I think we can't necessarily like end the discussion on being smart with debt without actually touching on what to do if you are in debt. So if you're in debt, that's fine. A lot of people are in debt. It's literally every other person is in debt. So do not feel like you're alone, first of all, but you do need a plan to actually get out of debt, right? So we've already spoken about increasing income. That's going to be very important in terms of how quickly you're going to be able to get out of debt. But there are two methods we always talk about: the snowball method, the debt avalanche for paying off your debt. I've made videos on this. I will link them in the description below, as well on the little eye thing here. But essentially, you do need to make sure that you create a plan for how you're going to pay off your debt in the most effective way possible. Okay, I think I've been talking for a very long time. Hopefully this video isn't too long, but let's just move on to the next money move, which is having financial boundaries. You need to have financial boundaries. These are so important, especially if we're talking about them in the context of black tax or family tax, for example, right? If you are maybe sending money home and supporting your family with so that they can actually cover their needs, that's amazing. That is a great thing to do, actually, right? Because umuntu ngabanye abantu, like I always say. But you always need to make sure that you're pouring from a cup that's full, not an empty cup. So you're not necessarily just giving what you don't have. You don't want to be going into debt in order for you to send money home if you literally do not have money. It should be something that you have conversations with your family about, so that they understand your financial situation as well. And I think a great way to actually set boundaries is by setting expectations, right? Because expectations, I think, is where a lot of people kind of miss it a little bit, right? If someone is expecting that every time they call you or text you, that you need to be able to help them with whatever amount of money they need, and you are saying on your side, oh, I'm going to just budget 5,000 rands to help my family every single month, then there's like a miscommunication there, right? Like you guys are expecting two different things from each other. So you want to make sure you have like a very frank conversation, a very like respectful conversation, of course, where you set expectations and say, okay, this is how I'm able to help at home. This is the amount of money that I'll be able to send you guys every single month so that you guys can be able to meet your expenses, right? And then you guys can have a conversation about it that way. In that way, like by the end of the conversation, you have like a set amount of money that you've agreed upon, that this is the amount of money that you'll send in order to help out at home. And I think it really helps you, one, with your budgeting, and two, with just those expectations and maintaining your relationships, because if the expectations aren't communicated, then there might end up being conflict for no reason, right? So have that conversation with your family. If you're someone who is sending money home. Then there are other types of boundaries when it comes to like your friends, where people maybe may borrow money from you and they don't pay it back. Then you need to actually start setting boundaries in terms of, well, if I'm going to give you money, my friend, I need it back. Or you need to actually start having conversations with the people that owe you money to say, well, I might not need the money back, but it's a matter of principle that, you know, you should have paid me back. And you can have those conversations, but you need to start having conversations with people that are a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest, but they'll help you like have better relationships with people, because you both know what to expect from each other. That way you can hold each other accountable when the other person doesn't necessarily do what they're supposed to do, right? If you have a conversation with a friend and you're like, you know, friend, I like helping you. I will always help you. You're my friend and I love you. But I actually need you to pay me back when you actually have the money. Then if that person doesn't pay you back, then it becomes a question of, well, we had a whole conversation about this. What went wrong, right? Then it's like, do they even respect you? That's a whole other conversation, right? But you do need to start setting those boundaries. Next money move is a little bit controversial, and that is to decide whether or not you want to have children. Yes, you need to decide whether or not you want to have children. Not everyone has to have children. You don't have to have children, but you definitely do have to make a decision on whether or not you want them, right? And the why it's so important for you to decide whether or not you want kids is that it affects your financial planning, right? So if you're planning to have children, then you start needing to think about things like education funds, investing for your children's future, and all of that, right? And also thinking about medical costs for your pregnancy and delivery, and all of those things that come with having children, right? So once you decide that you want to have children, it makes it so much simpler for you to actually plan properly for that future that includes having a child. Because when you're doing your financial planning as a single person, it's very different from doing your financial planning as a person who has a husband and children, right? Because the dynamics are very, very different. So you want to think about all these things, because they definitely will impact the direction of your finances and your financial independence journey, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having children, but you do definitely have to be aware of the fact that kids are expensive, and you want to make sure you're financially prepared for that responsibility. The final money move you need to be making to achieve financial freedom is to continuously improve yourself. You need to always be upskilling yourself, always be learning, always be open to opportunities and creating your own opportunities as well. So for that, you will always need to be learning something new, and you will never know everything. And that's the beauty of it, is that you can go through your entire life just learning new things that make you a better and better person, which means they will actually add on to your wealth as well. But that is it for today's video. And before we go, let's just give a shout out to Sage, the sponsor of this channel. Thank you so much, Sage, for working with us. They are an amazing company that makes it so easy for you to actually manage your invoices. You can automate your invoices. You can keep track of who owes you and what times you can expect to be paid. So you can check them out. You get a 30-day free trial of their accounting software down in the description below. But that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.